Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Side Quest Podcast. I have a great Coach's Corner for you today. Me and the coaches chat about accomplishments we had in 2015, things we struggled with, what we're looking for in 2016. And we also give you at the end of the show, you got to stay tuned for this, our best of album, book, and movie of the year. So yes, Star Wars has officially not come out yet. Just a few more days. But it basically will be my top movie. The end. There are no other films from this year. I'm super excited for that. But anyways, I want to say thank you. I'm very thankful to all of you who listen and subscribe and have been on this journey with me throughout 2015. I cannot thank you all enough from the bottom of my heart. You have made me very, very happy in 2015. So thank you guys so much. The only thing I have to ask is if you have not subscribed yet, head over to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe to the show. And while you're there, please leave a review. Reviews help me move up the charts, helps more people see the podcast without having to scroll all the way down. So please just head over there, leave a review on iTunes, hit subscribe, and help the show gain even more support and move up the charts. I have some great guests coming for you in the next few weeks as we close out and head into the holidays, and some great guests lined up for 2016. We're going to expand a little bit more in 2016. That is my goal, to get away from more than just fitness. We're still going to talk a lot of fitness. We're going to talk a lot about that, but there are other tools and tips and tricks that we need on our life quest, on our quest for the most awesome life possible. So I want to reach out to other people who have conquered other areas beyond fitness that we all could be better in. So that's the goal for 2016. And please leave comments on Facebook or tweet at me at SideQuestFM and let me know who you want to hear on the show, who you think would be an interesting interview. I would love some feedback from you as listeners. Again, if you're not following me on Twitter, that handle is SideQuestFM. You can also follow me on Instagram as well at SideQuestFM. And you can follow the page on Facebook. Just go to SideQuest Fitness. Follow the page, like the page, and get all the updates on articles, all the updates on podcasts, and all the crazy shenanigans that I probably see myself in every single day. Beyond that as well, I'm extending an invite out to the Hall of Heroes. When you head to Facebook, search for Hall of Heroes, SideQuest Fitness Hall of Heroes. Join the Hall. This is the official SideQuest Fitness group for nerds who love fitness, nerds who just love nerdy stuff and want to hang out and support each other as we go on our fitness journey. So anyways, enjoy this episode. I hope everyone has a great holiday season. And dear God, I can't wait. I need Star Wars like right now. Right now. All right, guys, enjoy the show. Guys, welcome to the show. This is the final Coach's Corner of 2015. We have a plethora of fantastic coaches on tonight, and we're talking about 2015. We're wrapping up the year. Granted, we are recording this in November, so it might, maybe we forecast what's going to happen in December, maybe we don't. Basically, it's just going to be every single day until the 18th, me wishing that Star Wars was already out. But, anyways, I have Tanner Baze on. I have Joe Brigley, Matt Dustin, Travis Pollen, and Nick Sorrell. Did I? Fuck. I'm never going to get it right. I know that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Close.
How do you say it? Squirrel?
yeah, that's it right there.
Nick Squirrel. All right. Why now do I want to see him in a gym lifting in a squirrel outfit?
That's all I listen.
There you
go. Well, I have enjoyed every single episode we've done of this. Travis, I have to say thank you. By the way, guys, Travis finally got his podcast to not fight with iTunes. So I'll link this in the show notes. So go check out Travis's stuff. He has some awesome guests. Me is one of them. And then Jason Helmus, as well as some others and it's a great show. So I'm going to plug his show because he does a great job over there with his podcast. But sometimes iTunes for some reason is like, no, we don't like you. We're going to screw you.
I don't understand iTunes. It's like a foreign country to me. There are just no rules. Like you publish your stuff in a certain order, and then it shows up in a different order, and like you have to kind of like just beg it to work for you.
Yeah.
And then the weirdest thing was like I would walk away for a couple minutes as I was trying to get this thing to work, and come back and do the exact same thing that I had done before, and then it would work. No explanation.
Sounds like me with WordPress a few weeks ago.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah. So we were trying to figure out how do we take out 2015, because I'm sure the first episode of 2016 we're going to talk about, fat loss or habits or something. Haven't decided. But we were like, let's do a year in review and wrap up talking about, things we've done either professionally or in the gym, goals we've achieved. And what we sort of look back on, because a lot of times you think a year was shitty and it turns out it was actually a pretty good year. But anyways, so 2015 in review, what were some accomplishments that you guys had?
Why don't you start this, Robbie?
Well,
I mean, why don't you get the ball rolling?
Because I feel so weird talking about myself. It's like
run a podcast.
I do, but I have people on to learn their stories. Like, it feels weird when I'm like, look, I already inflate my ego every single day, but luckily my wife, sticks her foot in my face for that.
Right.
Robbie, what was your 2015 goal that you just accomplished?
Well, touche, sir. My goal once I got into the world of writing was to get an article featured or just like found and put on the Personal Trainer Development Center Best of Week. And I achieved that goal not only as being featured, but won the category for the week under bodybuilding. At the same time, a dream I've had for probably a year and a half or two or whatever happened because that same article was published on Roman Fitness Systems. So that made 2015 feel really good. It's and I know a lot of us have this. I know people listening, even in whatever your career is, you sort of doubt yourself a lot of times. You're like, oh man, I got this degree, but do I really know what I'm doing? Like, I feel like I just BS my way through college, or I BS my way in. So it's nice to be like, no, you know what? Fuck it. I do know what I'm doing.
Hell yeah.
It's the Impostor syndrome. Did you guys read that?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
What is it?
70% of people think that they're just BSing. Like they're not really. They don't feel credible when they're putting out information.
Yeah.
And everybody else thinks that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread except themselves.
It's like this. I just watched earlier today, and I've watched it a couple of times. This Neil Gaiman commencement speech, and Robbie and Matt, I know y'all had to watch it as well. But he talks about in it, and it's only 20 minutes. It's totally worth a watch. But Neil talks about how he took a very odd route, but one of the biggest fears that he had was that one day that, like, because he just felt like he was making it up as he went, and that one day there was going to be a knock at the door, and this guy with a clipboard would show up and he'd say, "We found you out. We figured out everything you're doing. Like, you're wrong," or whatever. You're lying to the world. And I think, like, in our line of work, where you're a little bit of like a creative entrepreneur, where there's not necessarily rules or a guideline or a handbook to follow, like, that's a natural feeling. Like, you are kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So there's a lot of times where you do shit and you're like, man, I'm going to get called on my bullshit so fast. And when it happens, it's going to be so awful. But if you're pouring your heart into it, it never happens, and B, people wind up resonating with it and they wind up loving it. But that doesn't alleviate that fear that you have.
Well,
Right.
Yeah.
And the point
go ahead,
is
Travis.
the point is to try to put something out new that no one has said before. Because what's the point? I mean, there is a point to rehashing the important things, but it's also nice to come up with your own ideas. But every time you're on the pioneering an idea, there is that feeling that this is wrong. Like somebody who knows more is just going to come at me and be like, "No, dude, you're an idiot."
Yeah.
Well, but I think that, like you said, it doesn't really happen.
And I think that the other 30% that's we're missing out of that equation there are going to be the people who are taking your material and completely taking it out of context, and then they're the ones spinning it to say, well, it could be taken like this, when it's really intended to be said or directed at a completely different target. And so regardless of what you have to say or how much heart you put into it, they're just going to see it their way and try to make your life hell for their own sake.
For a brief split second. Yeah.
Right. Just because they want to hear themselves talk.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's an important thing. Like in our line of work, I think it's important to keep in mind, and this goes for all things fitness and nutrition, people very rarely comment because they actually have something of value they want to add to the conversation. They just want to reinforce to the world and maybe the 5 people who click on that comment that they actually know something. And that detracts a lot. And if it's your work that you're putting out there, it can negatively impact you if you let it.
I will come at this from an artist standpoint, having a background in theater. And Nick, I know you've been on stage a few times, and I think that that sense of being a fraud is something that even artists, no matter whether you are a painter, a sculptor, an actor, a musician, everyone. I mean, I honestly believe that Kurt Cobain probably was waiting for people to be like, "Yeah, you're not grunge," and I think that's one thing he sort of battled with. Maybe there was a part of him that wanted to do something different, but he was like, I don't know if that, can I live with myself? Can will people accept me because of that? And I think there's a lot of artists that sort of struggle with that because they want to say something to the world, but the world gets so used to hearing. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan, but the last couple of albums I've hated. I've hated because it wasn't what I wanted to hear. It was them experimenting, and doing something different, but it wasn't the different that I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people that are writing things and putting out content, I think everybody kind of gets worried about that. So they come out with an article, whatever it is, and they're writing it. And then at some point, maybe it isn't every article, but at some point, you start to wonder, oh, I wonder how so-and-so will take this. And you start to, instead of viewing it from your perspective or the people you're writing to's perspective, you start viewing it from, a third-party perspective, from your peers and stuff like that, people you aren't even writing to. And you'll see a lot of people start catering to that view instead of making it their own. So they may believe something or feel a certain way, and instead of just portraying it that way, they'll alter it slightly to make it more appealing to whoever they're trying to impress or whatever.
That's true. Nick, I was thinking as you were talking about that and listening to what everyone has sort of said is it all sort of stems from fear, and that even though we have clients and people come to us with questions and, Matt, you're writing a lot more. Tanner, you're writing a lot more. John made a joke today on Facebook, are you getting tired of being featured on the best of for fitness? And, it's we still have these fears inside of us that someone's going to be bullshit. You I know I found it. You don't you're a liar and I'm going to rip you apart. We still, are afraid that, that fraud syndrome, or we're afraid that, well, what if I put this out and it doesn't get, featured? Am I not good? So thinking about that in fear, what is the fear maybe this year that you guys had coming into the year, but now have sort of conquered and are not afraid of anymore?
Just being on social media.
Oh.
That was a pretty big one for me. So I started my company 2.5 years ago, but it took me about 1.5 years into it before I went to launch the first time. The way I had the company set up and the way I wanted to go with it did not match. So I tore it down and rebranded completely. And I just had to finally start going with it. And after, a 2-year hiatus of breaking things down and restarting, there's always this, well, I got to do more back-end work. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then you just kind of get into the thought process that, like, well, eventually it'll happen. Eventually it'll happen. And eventually you just need to do it. And to throw yourself out there for the first time can be very intimidating because you have no idea how people are going to respond. So it's the same kind of thing with the blog post.
Anyone else?
One of my giant fears heading into this year was actually the fear that, like, I would have to get a real job. I mean, I'm not fucking with you. Like, it was a fear that, like, man, am I really going to be able to support myself with this whole deal? Because, like, at times this all feels just kind of like playing, and, like, there's a lot of work involved, yeah, but, like, a lot of it I really enjoy, but, like, am I A, disciplined enough, and B, can I put in the work, and C, can I, like, trust myself to actually convert and make enough money to live the life that I want doing this? And that was like I mean, dude, you can ask a lot of my social circle, like, that's something, I mean, still to this day, like, even though I'm doing better, like, I still stress about it constantly because it's like, it's just a fear that I don't want to see, like, come to reality.
But it constantly feels like, although you're doing well currently, like, it could all go away. Like, like, for me, all the writing gigs that I have, like, maybe I just got lucky, and tomorrow or the next article I send, they're going to be like, screw you, who are you, we're not taking your stuff anymore.
Yep.
That's my income. So definitely, like, each time it still feels like, ooh, like, I'm not sure. Even though, like, I'm established. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I know that I'm good, but it's still a fear that I have every time.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you haven't chimed in yet.
I mean, I'm right there with everyone else. I get scared about, it's all going to come crashing down. And I know, I mean, a lot of you guys probably know, I actually moved across the country this year, which is something I've wanted to do for a long time. And I did it completely with the money I make from my writing and my online business. So it's still terrifying. I'm still just doing that. So I still feel like, if it falls apart, I'm going to have to move back home or, get a real job or do something else. But, I'm trying to get over it, getting better. It's kind of forcing me to be successful, I think, and work hard.
Yeah.
It's still a fear, man.
I do want to throw this out to everyone who's listening. I don't think any of us are trying to put down, like, jobs that are not being a trainer by saying, like, a real job. We just really love working with people, and the thought of, like, not being able to do that and having to sit at a desk at a computer because I've done it. Like, I don't want to sit there and wish my time away. I don't wish my time away when I'm with clients. I don't wish my time away when I'm programming. I don't wish my time away when I'm podcasting or editing or writing or doing any of that. Like, those are the things I love more than anything. I don't want to have to sit at a desk and hate every single day and wake up and feel miserable. Like, that's what I don't want. But I don't, like, we're not all trying to just, like, live under a palm tree and...
No, it's not a fake job, but it's just fun.
Right, it is.
And it doesn't feel like a job.
Right.
So, like, when I was in school for the last 2 years, I was like, man, like, the grind, like, I gotta report to people and be on like a real schedule. And now that I'm done, I make my own schedule. I do what I want. I write what I want. I talk to who I want. I'm my own boss, and it's nice. It's fun. If I can make a living doing this, then it doesn't really feel like a job at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also the fear that really drives you to succeed because it's the thought that you would have to sit behind the desk or anything like that where you're going to take the time to second guess yourself and really analyze every step along the way to make sure that you're putting out the best content, the best social media posts, the best kind of training that you can offer to anybody who's going to read or be your client.
That's true. And sometimes, like with said, goal of mine that was accomplished this year, you just got to say fuck it and do it. Like, just sort of throw your heart and soul into something and just be like, you know what? Whatever. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. I'm going to have fun with it. Which is where, a year ago when I started this podcast, that's what I did. I was just like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to learn as I go.
Look how that turned out for you.
And it's right. And it's gotten better. And I'll be honest, you can listen to the first few episodes, which I'm starting to put up on YouTube. And I realize, oh God, like I've gotten so much better at interviewing like in over a year that it's like, I don't want to listen to I don't want to listen to
the original work.
I think though that there's really a lot of value in leaving that stuff up. I know some people would take it down.
Oh, I'm never going to
because they're embarrassed.
Mm-mm.
I say this shows my evolution as a writer or as an interviewer or as a technician to be able to make it look good, and it's a testament to me in the work that the progress that I've made in the work that I've put in.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. It's like going back and looking at like when I first started lifting in photocracy. It's like, oh, all right.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, like that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing wrong.
I'll tell you what, Robbie. Like, I remember whenever you first reached out to me, I had no idea who the fuck you were, and so I pulled up your show and I saw that Brian Cron was on there, and I'm friends with him, so I reached out to him and I was like, dude, like, is this guy like legit? He asked me to do it. Should I do it? Blah blah blah. And he said the exact same thing I did. He was like, dude, I had no idea who the fuck he was, but I liked him, so like I did it. So, like, I think even though you've come a long way and you've gotten a lot better, I think, like, that natural passion you had at the beginning kind of shone. It kind of, like, it peeled through. And I think it was kind of apparent. I think that's the reason that you have gotten better, because from the beginning you had that passion. You weren't just in it like, I'm going to make a podcast, I'm going to get 1 billion, listeners, I'm going to get rich. Like, you wanted to do it solely because you wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
I want to piggyback off that. I listened to the episode that you did with Kevin Larrabee, and I'm not like a huge video game guy. Like I played some N64 and some Xbox back in my day, but the passion that you guys had talking about video games and exercise, obviously, but the passion that you two had and shared excited me, and I really enjoyed just listening to you guys. So that passion that you have really shines through in your interviews, and for me, that's the best part about listening to your show.
Exactly.
Well, geez, guys, thanks, fellas. I just realized halfway through that I did not have my mic plugged in, so I was going through my the mic.
It might be a good thing
on the computer. Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know. We'll see with the reverb. But no, it's. I think and this is for anything. I mean, going back and looking at where you came from, too many times we're so focused on the now and the stress of the now that we don't realize, just how much we've grown. And I think that's sort of an important thing to do, which is why tracking or keeping a record, is important in whatever it is. All right, so we've talked about fear and fears we've conquered in 2015. What was a goal you guys had, either in the gym that you've accomplished, Jesus Christ, you guys, or business wise or personally, that you achieved in 2015?
I'll go first here. I'll knock this out because I need to stop sending dirty messages to people in this forum.
God, Travis has cat ears.
So, whenever we started this, I actually had to go dig and pull it up. But at the very beginning of 2015, I sat down with a buddy of mine who we don't work in the same field or anything like that. But, we sat down and he was starting Gurmeet Sethi's Zero to Launch program. And we wanted to sit down and kind of create like a 2015 year of more. document, something that we could look back on. And I actually wound up creating 21 big things that I wanted to knock out this year. And I'm not going to go through all 21 because that would be exhausting. But, a lot of them, they're so various. Things as simple as buy a new computer, go to a new city, and then business goals one of them was have 500,000 total readers on all of my writing. And to be honest with you, to think back that that was a goal of mine at the beginning of this year is a little ridiculous because of the outlets that I write for now. And it was just dude, 2015's been a pretty wild year, to be honest. It's been... Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Robbie. We're so focused with growth and making things happen and being aware of where we're at the moment that we don't really look back and see where we've come from. And man, as I sit here and look at this thing, it's shit. A whole lot has happened in a year. A whole lot has happened, and I've gotten a whole lot more done than I really ever thought I would. So. That's cool.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just to reiterate on that, you have to take a moment and smell the flowers. We're always worried about the next thing. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Well, and even when we do accomplish something big, we write for a new site or our client drops a shit ton of weight, we're oh, cool for 5 minutes. But we should be cooling that for a lot longer and really celebrating those triumphs more than oh, that was 2 weeks ago. Now I need to prove myself again.
That's a good point. I don't think I celebrated enough. But no, because you're right, Travis. I think especially for entrepreneurs, and I think that is something we all are, whether we work in a gym as an employee or whatever. We all have online sites. We're all trying to create clients online and stimulate interest that way. We're always grinding. We're all, if we listen to Gary Vee or we read this person or we listen to that person, it's always keep going. You gotta keep working and working and working, that we don't take the break to enjoy the accomplishments, because we're all right, cool, that's awesome, but now I'm on to the next thing. And we never sometimes we do need to take a moment and just go, you know what? Yeah, cool. I'm going to enjoy that. And I'm going to let my brain sort of reset itself, which is a big lesson I've learned in 2015 is sometimes you got to step away from what you're doing, not touch it for a few days and let your brain relax.
That's a huge and valuable piece of advice, I think. For me, I get really stuck in what I'm doing and I go back and forth on it and then I don't make any progress. Then I take even just a night or a day and the answer just comes flooding out. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is what I need to say. This is how I need to fix it. And then it's much easier and it takes less time to finish, the blog post or the article without pressing and just letting it come.
Yeah, and I actually, to kind of take this back to somewhat of a fitness concept, I actually view a lot of my writing work and stuff like that as practicing PNF. So for those who don't know PNF stretching, it's just if you're getting stretched and you're getting your hamstring stretched, you stretch it up to a point and then you actively push against for 2 to 3 seconds and then relax and you can get more range of motion. And that's a very basic explanation. But I like viewing a lot of my work through that prism where I push, and then I need to back off for a little bit and go walk or go, I don't know, take a night and come back and look at my stuff the next day or whatever. And
so you only work for 3 seconds at a time and then you just relax.
That's exactly, yeah.
I gotta try that.
You asshole.
I really like that. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, so
Really stretches
that's
the imagination there.
been something that I felt like works really, really well for me. So,
Robbie, what you said about taking the time to just acknowledge the successes, like I feel like that's the purpose of this podcast, but also it's something that we should probably try to do on a daily basis, at least, when you wake up or before you go to bed, just like.
Well, it's practicing gratitude, which,
Yes.
sadly,
Definitely.
due to my old man syndrome that I have come down with in the past couple of months, mostly because when you're training 6 days a week and your training time each day is about 2 hours, you just want to sleep at like 7:30.
Is that another wrinkle under your...
Between you and the damn Harry Potter stuff. By the way, listeners, no, I've not read all of Harry Potter, so if you didn't know that,
What?
you now know it. Yes, you know that. Don't start with me.
I thought you were on book 3.
I finished book 3, but I have, I have other things I have to read for certain...
You're flying. You're doing great.
Well,
Yeah,
once
man.
I saw how big book 4 was, I was like,
Once you start, with anything, you just have to start, and it'll be easy after that.
That's
Don't
true.
get intimidated by the size, Robbie.
That's what she said.
You beat me to it, man.
That's what she said on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, but, I think...
To steer this back,
Go ahead, Joe.
I think, and this really wasn't a goal that I was trying to accomplish, but it's something I noticed I got better at. And I'm sure everybody has to get through this at some point, but having a difficult conversation with a client, especially when whatever their behavior is affecting their health. So if a client's having a few too many drinks throughout the week, or they're not, following up with their food log, or not following your advice about how they should go about losing weight or with their food, how to get your point across and get it across authoritatively without being a jerk.
Yeah.
And having the courage to be able to do that, but still maintain a healthy business relationship for your own success and for their goals as well.
I need to get way better at that.
It's not easy.
What did you find that worked for you, Joe?
Truthfully, I feel like at some point with some of their reasonings and their discussions, I just kind of got fed up. But you can't get angry with the client because that's definitely not going to work in your favor. So there's a book called Crucial Conversations or something like that. Yeah. Crucial Conversations, recommended by PN, and I flipped through that for a little bit, and that goes through a couple different scenarios on how to handle not anything with our field, but things that you can relate to it. And so basically just how to keep your control and how to steer it in a way where you're in control without offending them, but still getting them to realize they're not in the right.
Okay. I will put that book on my Amazon list as well as in the show notes.
Don't worry about buying it, Robbie. I've got it. I'll give it to you.
Cool.
Plus, you have to read Harry Potter first, so...
Yeah.
I know. I am well aware it will happen when I'm not working.
It's going to make you a better trainer.
It really will, yeah.
That's true.
I mean, to be honest, I've already used a cue from Legally Blonde with one of my clients who totally got it. She was like, she couldn't get the hip hinge, and I was like, have you seen Legally Blonde? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, bend and snap. Next thing I knew, she hinged perfectly, and I was like, bend and snap. That's it. It's hilarious. Not funny to you guys, but good to know. All right,
The picture was, but
a picture of me bending and snapping. Yeah.
yeah, I was imagining it. I couldn't tell if it was funny or disgusting or what it was.
All right. So what's something unexpected in 2015 that may have happened that was beneficial, even if maybe it wasn't, but turned out to be beneficial?
Ooh.
Geno Smith getting his jaw cracked.
I mean,
Helped out my Jets a lot.
Well, I got fired recently, like a few months ago. So I was working at a gym, and I was the first trainer they ever hired. So I'd been there for a couple years, like 3 or 4 years. It was my very first personal training job after I got done doing strength and conditioning at the college level. So I had a long-lasting relationship with this gym and the owner, and I'd kind of filled out their clientele. So there's a lot of demand, and after a while, the owner came at me and he told me that we need to start raising prices. You know, demand goes up, then the prices need to as well, and I understood that. And we had a disagreement on how to raise the prices with pre-existing clientele and stuff like that. And without getting into anything further, you know, I didn't feel right raising prices out of nowhere, so I got fired. When it happened, I kind of felt like a lot of that fear that you guys had talked about, like, man, I'm going to have to get a real job, blah, blah, blah. Well, I went for like a couple hours of getting freaked out, and another gym offered me a job, and I took it. And it made me realize that I had been at this other job for a long time because I was afraid of moving on and failing, I think. Like, I'd kind of outgrown that spot, but I was afraid of starting over. So I kind of, even though, you know, you never want to get fired, I guess, but like, it was kind of like that gentle push forward that I needed. And now I'm at a new gym and I'm learning from new people, and I don't know, that whole iron sharpens iron thing kind of is coming into play. So I'm learning a lot, and I don't know, it kind of made me realize, like, it was unfortunate at the time, but it was exactly what I needed in the long run. And I think a lot of people go through that in fitness as well. I remember when I first lost all that weight, I lost 100 pounds at one time. And a lot of it is because a girl, you know, broke up with me. So a lot of times, like these things that seem like failures or real negative situations, a lot of times can turn into something good if you attack it the right way.
Yeah, if you look at it as an opportunity, which is, it's hard to do because, you know, when you do something, you know, like Nick, you lose your job and you're like, oh my God, like what do I do? I mean, I've done the same thing. You know, the move to Georgia was not super easy. You know, like we're coming to a place where we know 0 people. We know absolutely no one. And to like, I've lived in the South my whole life. I know how the South operates. Like, yes, people use social media, but it's all word of mouth. So as a trainer, like, you got to know people. So, you know, it takes a while to get to know people and gain a friend here and gain a friend there. And, you know, I had some opportunities at other gyms, but I decided not to go there just due to, you know, things. But, you know, I didn't want to just jump at the first thing that came. But, you know, it's never easy to sort of do that. But you're right. You kind of have to have your freak out, you know, have your freak out, and then get up and go, all right, now let's look at this as an opportunity. You know, take your moment, like Travis was saying earlier, you know, like take your moment when you have something good and enjoy it. Sometimes with your bad stuff, sit in the corner and cry because you're human. Like, you need to experience that. Like, you can't just run from it. Experience it, then dust yourself off, talk to yourself and be like, all right, it's time to be a big boy, put the big boy pants on, and go do my shit. And just go do it. You know, like, but you've got to have that sort of moment where you feel that pain because you know you're still alive.
Right, that's what kind of drives you, exactly. And I think a lot of, like, motivation starts that way. Like, you'll hear a lot of trainers and stuff like that, like, oh, I'm not motivated, I just get up and do the damn thing. And I think that's bullshit, at least at the beginning. I think a lot of times people that make any kind of crazy transformation, whether it be with their career or with their fitness, a lot of times it starts out of a point of lowness, so like a point of pain or desire or whatever. So like I had a client recently, it was a younger kid, and he's a football player, and he texted me right and was like, dude, I'm finally eating enough. And I'm like, wow. I was like, because he hadn't been doing it, and I was like, what changed? And he was like, he sent me this text, and at first I was like, kind of like, it was really ugly sounding. So like I was kind of figuring out how I wanted to, you know, reply to it. And he pretty much said like, dude, I want to be the player that other players are afraid to play against, and I want to be the guy that all the bitches want to fuck. Like, he literally said this to me. And at first I was like, that's like the worst reason, man. And I started to think about it, and like, if it gets him going and gets him.
Oh, and we lost him in the middle of that.
I was so enthralled.
I was too.
What a cliffhanger.
But I think I know where Nick's going with that, because it's, you know, we finding your motivation no matter what it is. I mean, let's be honest. Like, oh, he's back.
Totally lost connection. Yeah.
All right, you want to finish that?
No, but like, so like, you know, even though it may start negative, if it gets him going or gets you going or whatever, like,
yeah,
then it really doesn't matter. It's really not that negative. Like how I was saying earlier, I lost 100 pounds solely because I was pissed off because a girl didn't want to be with me. Like, and even though it's not the right reason to do it, eventually it turned into me wanting to do it for myself. So that, you know, like, you know, can motivation be wrong or be bad?
Yeah,
I'll see if we can.
As long as it turns into something good. But I gotta go, guys. My birthday date is pissed off outside. So, yeah.
All right, dude.
All right, guys. Take care. Suck it, Tanner.
We're playing fantasy tonight. That's what that was, guys.
Damn it.
No, but I want to continue. I want us to continue sort of with what he mentioned there, that because a lot of people in the next month or so, you know, when this goes up, it'll be December, and everyone's going to be thinking about, okay, I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get my motivation right. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get my life in order. They're going to start making New Year's resolutions. But I think he made a good point that sometimes our decisions have to come from a point of pain. You know, and that's not a bad thing. Like going to the gym because a girl broke up with you, or because you didn't get the girl you wanted or the guy you wanted, isn't a bad thing. I mean, how many of us started hanging out at certain places because girls or guys were there because we wanted, like, there's a few youth groups I went to as a kid only because some chick I was into was there. Like,
It's there, yeah.
yeah. I mean, why do you read this book? Because the girl you are attracted to was reading it. Like, hence the only reason I read the first Harry Potter book, because I was dating a girl who was reading Harry Potter. It was all.
But now you read them because you're into us.
That and my wife trolled me on the internet and shamed me in front of my mentor.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, look, like, to kind of, I guess, bring it full circle, like, those, you know, one thing I think that's important for people to keep in mind is, like, those moments of pain that get you going or anything like that, that you need to embrace those. And those, like you said, Robbie, like, they let you know that you're alive and they're important. But once you've gone through that once, that doesn't mean that you've stopped going through it. You know, like, I have been lifting and training for long enough now to where, like, I just do it. Like, it's something that, like, I just do. But there are certain things that take place in life that make me lift with more anger or more, like, just because I enjoy it more. And that's okay. It is 100% okay to embrace that. The big thing is recognizing that, like, that wave that you're riding that gets you into action, like, that wave will subside at some point. So, like, it's all, you have to take the onus upon yourself to try and develop a system that lets you continually act upon that once that wave subsides.
How do you build that system? What is a system that you or any of you other guys, you know, have sort of built when it comes to, and this, I mean, it could be a goal you had in 2015, something that happened where you were like, you know what? No, I failed at this, and I have to make it better.
So, like, a system that I use that I am, like, adamant about is, and it goes by various names. I just like to call it piling up little wins. And it's like, you know, I know that because of my background, like, I am just ingrained, like, I want to win. I want to win it all. Like, I just want to win. But, like, recognizing that finding little ways to win and winning the day, winning this blog post, winning this breakfast, winning this meal. Like, and that's massively important to me, because I know that as I start to pile up more and more little wins within a week, you know, like, and that's a week, that's a lot of fucking wins. You wind up developing a serious amount of momentum that it's really hard to stop it, because you're already in a winning mindset. Like, you're already so used to winning at your first meal, winning at your task at hand, winning at your workout. And then, seriously, within a few days, you've got so much momentum built up that you're almost unstoppable.
A lot of people can take... Go ahead, Travis.
One of my strategies to go along with that is to start unbelievably small with something that you know you can do. So I have a new client, and she lost a lot of weight and now put some weight back on, and decided that it was the exercise component that was really missing. And once she got back on the exercise, that would help with the nutrition. She knows what she has to do for the nutrition. She's done it before. And so I gave her like 30-minute workouts. And she, like, the first week, she messaged me and she was like, Travis, these workouts are perfect because I know that I always have 30 minutes. Like, regardless of whether I'm, like, running a little late, like, whatever, I can always find 30 minutes. But if you gave me hour-long workouts, that might be too long, and then I might not do them at all. Where even if I had a half hour, because I would feel like I wasn't completing the task. So if it's a half hour and then I have more time, cool, that's extra credit. So you set the bar kind of low at first, and then once like 30 minutes is too easy and it's not helping you reach your goals anymore, then you can go from there. But then, like Tanner said, he lifts all the time. Like, it's not a question of whether or not I'm going to lift today. So once you have that routine in place, then it's like, okay, I'm going to lift. Now I'm just going to lift harder to get to where I want to be.
I like that you said routine, because the question that popped in my head right before you mentioned that word was, you know, what's a small win you started to implement, you know, this year that has helped you, but we'll call it a routine. Like, what have you done that was new, that maybe it challenged you? Maybe it was reading 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night, or whatever. You know, what's something you've done that really helped you this year?
Tanner's list is the same as mine, so you can go.
Yeah, Travis, I just put up a blog post this past week that gained a pretty decent amount of traction. And it was just like a kind of my story with, like, you know, people look at us trainer types and they like to, you know, and it's understandable, but they like to think that we have our lives completely together. And that's so not true.
Well, I'm perfect, but I might be the exception.
Okay, you are, but for us mere mortals, like, that is just completely untrue. And my past month and a half has been a glowing example of that, of my life not being perfect. And I had part of it stems from, like, I moved into a new apartment, and, like, my girlfriend and I had just broken up, and, like, so my entire life is in flux. So I'm prime for developing a brand new routine. Did that actually happen in the beginning? No. But I was also able to recognize, or I am now, that, like, I had my expectations of myself were far too lofty. Like, I was expecting for me to move into a brand new place, and for me, not my life to take a total 180, because my life isn't in the shithole, but, like, to make a massive 100% drastic change, and that's just not fair. So what I kind of talk about is one of the big things, like, one thing I've always wanted to say I do, and I'm so terrible at doing it consistently, is practice meditation, mainly because I want to be more mindful. But I was, for whatever reason, like, just constantly expecting myself to, if I'm going to meditate, I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes a day. And for those who have never tried meditation,
oh God,
that's a long time. long fucking time for you to sit there and just meditate.
Yeah, that's like saying I'm only going to play one match of Call of Duty. Yeah, not happening. 3 hours later.
So what it's not necessarily a routine, Robbie, but like what I said to myself and started making myself do was, instead of meditating for 20 minutes, which I hope is eventually the end goal, meditating for a minute. And then knowing that, like, okay, I can set a timer on my phone and just zone out for a minute and meditate. And
I have a question about that.
Go.
I get nervous when I set the timer on my phone that the alarm is going to scare me. I'm dead serious.
No, no joke. You're totally preaching to the choir here.
They have different ringtones.
Mine are all scary.
They do have different ringtones. That's correct. But it's something. And two, like, another thing is, like, I was worried that, like, I would start, like, almost like expecting or waiting for their tone to go off. And now when it does, like, that's okay. I'm okay with that, because something I've also started to put into practice is later on throughout my day, is like my day starts to get crazy or anything like that. What I'll do is I'll just kind of try and zone out and recenter myself for a minute or two, like, where not even a minute, just 30 seconds, where I get back to focusing on what is at hand and kind of reaching within myself. So throughout the day, I wind up meditating, or whatever you want to call it, far more than a minute. But that 1 minute goal is a big key to getting me to do it and practice it throughout the rest of the day.
2 thoughts off of that.
Go.
Definitely, I find myself, and I'm sure everybody does, and I mean, you're preaching to it right there, just being super mindful throughout the day of your current state of mind and how that can affect the decisions that you're about to make. And if you're feeling yourself being too flustered, or at least that's how I get, when my day may not be going exactly how I want, is just taking a minute to step back. I'll go into a hallway or wherever it may be, sit in my car for an extra minute, and just sit down and breathe for a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it may be, and really just zone out and try to recalibrate where I'm at and where I want to get to. And the other thing with that is setting yourself up with small wins throughout the day.
Yeah.
Where you're talking about, if you want to just win breakfast, okay, well, for some people that's really challenging. How do you win breakfast is just have everything pre-made the night before so that you can just go down there and have breakfast. So if it seems simple, some of these things really need to be simple in order for you to gain the momentum to get to the larger wins.
Yeah,
It's not all about the big plays. It's about chipping away at 2-yard runs throughout the day so that you do win throughout the rest of the day.
That's not going to get you a first down, man. It's got to be 3 yards.
Yeah. I mean, no joke. Like, that's okay. So we're going down a really interesting path here, Joe. Like, that's actually something that, like, I went over with a client of mine not too long ago. This client's particular breakfast in the morning is a big cinnamon raisin bagel with cream cheese. Okay, so we're talking 500-600 calories worth of nothing but refined carbs and mainly fat. But, like, after a lot of talking, and I know this client pretty well, like, it was going to be a lot of me to ask, okay, can I have you start prepping some overnight oats or something like that? So instead, we just made the executive decision, okay, in the morning, I'd like your breakfast to be some toast and peanut butter. Just one slice of toast and peanut butter spread over it. So that's not a major overhaul, but in reality, they're still saving a couple of hundred calories, and they're starting to get on the right path because they recognize, like, okay, I've saved a couple of hundred calories with a relatively effortless win here. And now I can take the idea that I've won here and apply that later on to other changes that I may make.
And I want to stress to people who are listening to this that this kind of advice is really, it might seem trivial, but it's not trite. And it really is the way to get to the big wins.
Yeah.
So really should not be taken for granted. Really set yourself up with the small wins throughout the day, and that's going to lead to the big time results.
Yeah, it comes down to finding. I mean, even if like Tanner said, if overnight, like if you just have to make your breakfast in the morning, then cut it down, peanut butter and toast, or if it's got to be oats and you are worried about being rushed, then just set everything out in the open, and all you got to do is add water in the morning.
Yeah.
It's find the smallest thing you can do, and talk to your coach about it. Or reach out to one of us, and be like, hey, how can I get a small win at happy hour? How do I get a small win with family dinners on Saturday? Like, how do you get? And you just got to find small. Break it down. We all look at the big elephant. We do it. We've talked about it all night, like with the fear. With the fear of like we're gonna be found out, or the fear of like a goal that we have. We look at the goal. We look at the achievement. We don't think about, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna write 2 sentences. I'm gonna start 2 sentences every day, and build off of that. As you go. Like, Adam Ali said it best. You just write for 30 minutes. You don't have to publish every day. Just write something. It doesn't have to be fitness related. It doesn't have to be anything. Like if you have something, do it every day in some capacity. Something that you love, something that you're passionate about. Find, even if it's 30 seconds. A minute of meditation is fantastic. Start with a minute.
Speaking of the big elephant, sometimes I think people look at meditation like something big and scary and unknown, but when we talk about meditation, it can just be as simple as sitting and listening to your breath. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to. There's
no chance.
You don't have to like worry about not doing it right, or like, I can't clear my mind. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you probably aren't going to be great at it the first time, and I mean, people do this they dedicate their lives to it. So it's okay if the first time or the first year you still don't feel like you are where you want to be, because it's not really about that. It's just about the journey and about accepting it.
That's a good point. All right, so we're gonna slowly sort of wrap up. I want everyone to give me, if you can, your best. You got 3: your best movie, best book, and best music or album. If you don't do music, I don't make something up and give me your third one. But out of those 3 of 2015, what was your favorite album, movie, and book?
Ooh.
I'll start. Album wise, I really want to go with Kendrick. I really do. It was a great album, but honestly, Modest Mouth's last album, like it stayed on my playlist, and I loved it. It's one of my favorite of 2015. Best movie, well, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, by the time this goes live, we're going to be like 6 days away from it. So, Star Wars. I haven't even seen it yet, and it's the best fucking movie of 2015 because it's Star Wars and it doesn't involve Jar Jar Binks. I hope. Best book, not even a reader, really. Hence all the Harry Potter stuff that you guys have now learned. Man. Dan John, can you go? I whipped through it in like 2 days, and like I said, I don't usually read things very fast, but I mean, I drank it like it was the best bottle of scotch ever, and just downed it. It was awesome.
I think that's a good way to describe Dan John. Just
down it like a bottle of scotch. Yeah. Matt, you've been pretty silent. So what was your album, movie, and book of the year?
Okay. So for books, Is it a book that came out this year or that I read this year?
That you
I don't
read
know
this year. It
when
doesn't have
books
to come out. Like, that's the thing is, like, it doesn't have to come
Okay.
out in 2015. You could have read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Like, I don't care.
Okay, let me save the one for last. I gotta think. Okay, best album was Into the Wild. Spirit. I think they're the best band out there. So good.
Into the Y by who?
The band called Delta Spirit. They're like a folk rock, kind of blues rock band.
Delta. Okay.
Really good. Yeah, everybody go listen to Delta Spirit. The best
Cool.
live show ever. So good. For movie, let's see. Did Mad Max come out this year?
It did.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my movie
Fuck
of the
yeah,
year.
Mad Max came out this year.
Fury Road, that was movie of the year for me. Man, books is hard. I read a lot. Let's see. I actually know it. I just read Neil Strauss's new book, which I know came out like a month ago, so that's 2015. It's like the follow-up to The Game, where he actually ends up in a long-term relationship. A lot of insights there. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave that as my book of the year.
All right.
Cool.
Joe.
I think American Sniper came out in 2015.
It did.
So I'm going to go with that. That was pretty good. I saw that in theaters. And it's just constantly playing on TV now. So I've rewatched that numerous times. Album, I'm trying to pull up my iTunes right now. I tried listening to some different music. And so, what is the name of this? Foster the People. I know they were pretty big a couple years ago. I don't know the name of their album. But whatever their whenever they got big, that was a little different for me, so I started to get into them a little bit more. And book. I just started reading The Genius of Michael Jackson. So I'm going to go with that.
Interesting.
Because he is a crazy character, obviously. But
I have a theory on him.
But he's obviously one of the most talented musicians of all time, so it's pretty interesting to get both parallels playing there.
That's going on my list. I have this.
I think it's pretty new. It just came out like last month or something.
I've always thought that sort of maybe like Man in the Moon, that like Michael Jackson got really famous and then he was like, I don't really want to do this, and then he just hired some guy to just get facial reconstruction surgery, and he just sits like in a studio somewhere and he's still responsible for like all the hot pop music, but no one really knows it.
That's a great theory.
It would make for a great movie. But it wouldn't surprise me, only because if you look at some of those pictures, there's no way that his like facial structure around his nose could have taken that much surgery. Like it just, I don't know, something about it. But anyways, Travis, your best book, movie, and album.
So I concur that Mad Max was the best movie, and I have I have an interesting story about that. The first time I watched it, I had no clue what was going on. And my girlfriend, I watched it with my girlfriend, and she had read a little bit about the plot beforehand. So I had a really hard time accepting the plausibility. I'm a physics guy, and they were on cars, and cars were going really fast, and they weren't falling off, and I just, like, the first time I watched it, I was unimpressed. Then I watched it again a couple days later with a friend of mine who is a former Army Ranger, and he gave me the commentary the entire time, and he contextualized it from a military perspective, and it blew my mind. Just the way that the symbolism in the movie, and the way that it was more realistic than, although some of the things that were happening you have to suspend your belief, but they really had analogs in real world warfare. So that's my movie. Book didn't come out in 2015, but I read it in 2015. My mom gave it to me as I was recovering from surgery in April. And so I didn't have anything to do. The book was called This Book Will Change Your Life. And it had some donuts on the cover, and I thought the cover was cool. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll read this. And it was the most strange book I've ever read. just the things that happened in it were bordering between reality and surreal, but it was just plausible enough that it could happen. Like a horse being rescued out of a giant pothole next to the guy's house by helicopter. And I really, really enjoy reading not science fiction, just fiction, because I think that it helps me with our writing. And something about this author's style just spoke to me. So that's my book. And album, Iron and Wine is my favorite band, and they came out with an album with Ben Bridwell that was fantastic. But also this year, I really got into Hozier, which was actually 2014. I just looked. But for about 2 months, I didn't listen to anything but Hozier's album on repeat.
Oh, dude, and that is a great album. And really quick, let me hold on. I'm getting sorry. Let me tell you. So I saw him in concert for that album, and really kind of cool, small little venue. The worst song that he did live was "Take Me to Church."
Sure,
dude. But the whole album is just fantastic.
Every single song.
Yeah, every single one of them was fantastic.
They speak to me.
Yeah.
It's his voice, it's his guitar. It's just this fusion of blues and soul and rock
and folk and everything. Yeah. It was great, and I would have had it as my top album in 2014. Unfortunately,
it was so good that it carried over to 2015, or I just got into a little late.
Yeah, I don't know. Just Interpol's album last year was so good. It stayed like in my ears for like 3 months. But Tanner, all right, what's your book, movie, and album?
Okay, so movie is probably Straight Outta Compton.
That was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I loved that movie. And two, I loved that movie had the feel like it was just a really, really extensive, well-done documentary. So if you haven't seen that movie, I don't care what your thoughts are on NWA, you should go see it. Book, I read a lot. I read a whole lot. So this one's a little bit more difficult. My favorite books are probably from this past year are probably fiction, and it's really hard. Like, I got really into Dave Eggers, and I don't know if any of you guys know who he is, but he's got a fantastic book called A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius that was a phenomenal read. He's got another book called The Circle, which is actually getting made into a movie. I think Tom Hanks is playing one of the main characters. That's quite possibly one of the best books I've ever read. But best book of the year by far to me was Hunter S. Thompson's Kingdom of Fear. And Hunter S. Thompson's one of those dudes to me who, like, people like to think of Hunter Thompson as somebody who, like, went on coke binges and got really fucked up on all sorts of various drugs all the time, and he did. But he's a very, very talented writer and has a lot of really, really good things to say. And Kingdom of Fear is almost like a biography of sorts of his. And man, is it a book that, like, as you read it, it was published 15, 16, 17 years ago. And as you read it, you think he is speaking to today's world. So that's fantastic. And I love Hunter Thompson's, like, by far and away one of my favorite people. Album, Hozier's a solid suggestion, but as of late, man, like, over the past month and a half, I have been all about this band, The Arcs. Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys, it's a side project of his, and he got together with a bunch of musicians that he had done, like studio musicians that he had worked with before, and they created this band, and the album, I believe it's called Yours Dreamily, is just otherworldly. It's a fantastic album. I'm actually going to see them on December 18th, so I won't be at the opening for Star Wars.
Yeah, you can't because it's midnight on the 17th. Duh.
It's a two-night holiday event, so I'm 17th and 18th. It's like AWOL Nation and the Arcs, but So those are what whenever I think back at 2015, that's what I think back of like the things that I've really, really loved.
Did you listen to his solo album yet?
Dan Auerbach?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I like that one better than the Arcs.
Did you?
Yeah, but I didn't listen to the Arcs enough yet.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm all on the Arcs right now.
Well, I've got some new music to check out before 2015 ends. I love the Black Keys and everything that they. I'm a big fan of like dirty blues rock. Like
yeah,
the Black Keys.
Have you listened to the Black Keys' really old stuff?
You will.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Chulahoma. That's not even. That's like their fourth album, bro.
Thick Freakness.
Thick Freakness. Yeah, the big come up.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you got to go back.
All right, I will.
Travis.
I'll go back. All right, so we've gone a little long-winded on this one, so I want to wrap it up. Do you guys have you thought about goals you have for 2016? Something that you know what you're going to put out to the world, and they might even come at you in June and be like, Travis, you haven't done this yet.
Whoa.
I have. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll go.
You're up.
My big goal. I want to get featured. I want to get featured in the New York Times.
Whoa.
So even if it's just a quote, if it's like a short little 300-word blurb, whatever, I want to get featured there.
What do you do to do that?
Dude, your guess is as good as mine, but you and I write for a lot of the same outlets, so I really don't know, but that's a massive goal.
That's awesome.
That's a huge goal. I like that. Swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Travis?
So I have a friend of mine who's a physical therapist, and he approached me earlier just actually like a few months ago. I like help him with a lot of his writing. He's a genius, and I just kind of have the flair or pizzazz that I add to it. And he wants to write a book and have me write half of it. So that's hopefully going to be taking place during this year. It might not come out before the year is over because it's kind of an ambitious project. But that's something that I'm going to be working on. And it's something that I wanted to do for a long time. I mean, since I've gotten in, it's like, okay, I want to write a book, but I don't necessarily feel like I have the expertise yet to write one myself, but my friend does. I think he's brilliant. So I think that we can tag team it, and I'm really excited to get working on that project.
Dude, that's huge. That's awesome. Joe.
Keep transitioning from what I'm doing in person to more online by cutting back about 15 hours in person and then allocating that to developing a larger presence online and a better company online. Those fine details, whatever they may be, I haven't ironed out yet, but that's the overall direction and the ambition.
All right, I like it. Matt, do you have you thought about 2016?
Yeah, so I want to get into magazines this year. My goal is Men's Health. You know, I got most of the fitness websites. I got a book on this year, so now I want to get print mag. That's my goal for the year. Get something featured in there.
I like it.
I don't know what yet, but something.
And those are all. I mean, I think it's important to have those things, no matter what the goal is. I haven't really thought about 2016. I'm like Travis. I'm sort of enjoying. I'm really trying to enjoy that moment of achieving my dream of getting featured on Roman Fitness Systems.
You gotta ride that out, man. Just the rest of the year. You shouldn't even. You should just take the rest of the year off.
Actually, I do. I have a beginner. Hopefully, when this episode goes up, you guys can get my beginner fitness manual, which will be really freaking cool. Really, all I want to do. You know what? 2016. I just want to create more cool shit. Like that's all I want to do. Like, I want to get
good.
some, like,
Yeah.
I want to provide an experience to clients that no other people provide, in that, you know, you have fun. I want to make fitness fun for people who maybe don't have fun with it. And I'm trying to do that with, you know, making it a game. You know,
I'd like to request more videos from the Questmaster.
the Questmaster is getting more videos.
Where the hell is that cave? That is awesome.
Don't worry about where that cave is.
I'm on a quest for that cave. I'll stop at nothing. All the pearls
you
bench
come to Rome,
presses
Georgia,
that I
and I'll
find
show you
it.
where the cave is. It is not a cave of wonders, though. Yeah, so that's really it. I mean, I like Joe. I want to grow my business. I want to help more people. I want to wake up and get emails and see smiles. Like, everyone does the work. I just want to be like, yeah, I want to celebrate with you. So, however that happens, however I get there, wherever I write, you know, I want to continue to get better. Maybe I should have. Financially a goal, I want to pay off $10,000 in school loans. So there, if I haven't paid off $10,000 in school loans by the end of 2016, you guys heard it here. That's what I want. God, they suck.
Awful. They're
yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been going long. I'm going to wrap it up. But guys, I want to say thank you for coming on, for being guests throughout the year, and hanging out, and Travis for this awesome idea for Coach's Corner. I think it's awesome for us to get on and chat and have different people, you know, come on and talk about their expertise, or talk about, you know, the things that young coaches like us experience, because I don't think it's just in fitness that we experience those things. And to everyone who's listening, thank you for making 2015 amazing. Thank you for subscribing, for listening, for downloading. It does my heart wonders to know that you guys are out there and that you're enjoying. And please interact. Please come on Facebook, SideQuest Fitness. Just search for it there, or tweet at me, SideQuestFM, or email me at sidequestfitness@gmail.com. I want to know what you guys enjoy. I want to know who you want to hear on the show, and I want to know what you enjoy about it. So there. Make that the end of 2015. I have a goal. I want to get some emails from you folks that are listening. That's what I want. By the end of 2015, have like 50 emails. All right, guys, thank you again for coming on. And here, if we were drinking, here's the 2016 and more awesome Coach's Corner episodes.
Clank.